Hello, Satnam. Happy Monday. I wanted to hop on here this week to share some insights in regards to our sacred spaces and depression. And I was thinking about this a lot. And I'm excited to share that with you guys, and I'm excited to share it with some of the students inside of the certification program who have been doing their work and really showing up to understand how designing sacred spaces is such a wonderful opportunity for healing and for nourishment in all kinds of personal events and situations. And so in this particular week, in this particular training, I wanted to talk about depression. And I wanted to talk about depression for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's one that it's very common amongst people who are beginning Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga, for those of you who don't know, is part of the sacred interior design process. In my world, it's also part of the deep transformational process and meditation and yoga and spiritual path towards healing and towards designing your home as a sacred space. And so a lot of people who start Kundalini Yoga often see it as a healing modality for depression and anxiety. But also throughout the last few months with the pandemic, a lot of my clients have shared how helpful it's been for their depression, for their anxiety to have these healing spaces. And that's always such a beautiful thing for me to hear. I've heard from clients even during these months who've struggled with relapses in addiction, and as they've embarked in taking care of their space and nourishing their space and showing devotion and reverence in their space, they also have seen improvement in their life in continuing with the mental health support that they have. Obviously, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor. Nowhere is designing your house going to replace the proper way of treating your depression and growing into your inner self and all of the holistic modalities that you can go to for that, or even Western modalities if you choose, whatever that is your decision. However, what I have found in speaking to these clients and in going through that process with them and the conversations that have opened up inside of the certification program around depression are also deeply rooted in my own experience with depression, which is something that has been a part of my life since I was a child. Watching my mom, suffer from depression is something that I recall and remember very clearly till this day. And part of what I remember in that experience is what her bedroom looked like and how dark it was and how kind of abandoned it felt. And understanding that in my own life, I recognize that a lot of times when I'm feeling really low, and because depression is often such a habitual way of living, there's just such a pattern that's ingrained in us to feel depressed and to have kind of a victim mindset and mentality. And this could be super controversial for a lot of people, but this is, again, my experience and my own work with my own depression. And what I have found over and over is that there's a direct link in how my space is, how my physical space is, and how my inner space is. Because if I'm feeling really good about myself, if I'm feeling really good about my life, if I'm feeling really good about everything or something, sometimes it's just something, then I'm reflecting that. And so it shows in how my home is being taken care of and how myself, right, my hair, my outfit, just the way I'm carrying myself does show, right, how I'm feeling inside. And so what I wanted to share with you were just some simple I want to call them tips, but they're really not just tips. I think the word tip is like easy to just be like it's something you read or hear, but it's not actually something you're integrating. So I almost want to say these are more like sacred tools and, sacred elements to reminding yourself through our space, through our bedroom, through our home, through our physical spaces, that we are more than our depression, that we are more than our challenges, that we are more than our sadness, than our grief. And so what happens when I tune into that, and I'm sharing that from such a vulnerable space, because the last few weeks I felt depressed, and you'll often hear me say, keep up and you'll be kept up. And this is from the Kundalini lineage, but it's because we have to choose to put an effort when those habitual ways of feeling depressed show up. And sometimes that effort is as simple as getting up from bed and making the bed. Sometimes that effort is as simple and as small as choosing to sit with the depression, to choose to sit with the sadness, with the what is the word that they use? What is the word? It's not restlessness. There's a word that I often forget. Anyways, it'll come to me. But to choose to sit with what is and how we are feeling. And so a lot of times, just a choice of getting up from bed, making the bed, lighting up a candle, and sitting down to just be and feel what is being experienced is such an act of devotion. It's such an act of sacred lifestyle to just sit in front of a candle and do that and feel that. And that is what our spaces allow us, because the more we choose that, then the more we remember that we have that as a tool. Okay, so sure, if I just light a candle once in a while, is it going to sink in that this is an opportunity for me to sit and choose to be more than my depression? Probably not. But if I daily choose to pay attention to my space, to pay attention to my little corner, to pay attention to my little altar, to take care of my bedroom, to take care of my mundane things, if I can show up to do that consistently every day, a little bit at a time, when I'm feeling good, then when I'm feeling low, when you're feeling low, that reminder is going to be even that much more powerful. So today I just want to remind you to take the steps to do the little things in your physical space, to sweep, to make your bed, to light a candle, to dust a surface, to mop the floor, and go back to, showing a little gratitude to what you already have, showing a little devotion to what you already have. One of the things I really like to do that really calms me down and also humbles me if I'm getting caught up in a lot of my head, is to literally come onto all fours, on my knees and my hands, and to clean my floor. And it makes me think of the seva, the spiritual work that devotees would do in temples, and they would literally get on all fours and just clean the floors of the temples and polish the walls of the temples and polish the statues and take care of this divine space where they pour their heart and soul onto with such humility, right? And so oftentimes you'll see in yoga, the pose of gratitude is this, of bowing down to the floor, right? Bowing your head down to the ground. It's the pose of prosperity, because it's also the pose of humility, of humbleness. And so when you can show up in that devotion to your own space, that devotion also reflects in yourself. It reflects on the outside and it reflects on the inside. So take it from me, who has been feeling depressed lately, go ahead and take this opportunity to just get up and do one thing for yourself and one thing for your space. And it could be this, to have a candle and sit in front of it and just cry your eyes out, maybe. A lot of times for me, when I feel depressed, is because I have too much going on and I'm just feeling almost numb, to the degree that I'm not exactly knowing what I'm experiencing because I'm not sitting enough to be clear. And also, it's the opposite. It's either I'm sitting too much to try to be clear, but not moving enough. And so moving is such a great way to take that step towards uplifting your own self. Cleaning, mopping, sweeping, dusting, grabbing the pillows and just hitting things, you know, like, what's the word? Sakuri, like just shake your sofa, shake your bed, shake your chairs. This was the sound of my childhood. Was I would see the housekeepers in my home doing this all the time, you know, like doing that with the pillow to just dust the space, dust the surfaces. And so I know that some of these things sound silly sometimes, and they sound very small when our head and our heart and our souls feel like there's such a big deal going on. But sometimes those very small steps are all we need to shift our mood in the moment. And what I love the most about paying attention when I'm in my best self, when I'm in my best moods, and paying attention to my home, intentionally decorating my home, intentionally moving with the seasons inside of my home, is that not only are they such a source of joy and pleasure while I'm doing it and while I'm enjoying them, but also when things get rough, when your mood goes down, when your habits and old stories kick in, when the world gets challenging, or whatever it is that happens on the outside and on the inside, then these visual cues, these totems, these symbols, these material things we own become our allies and become our tools. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I live it in my day-to-day, and I see my clients and my students really also be able to shift their perspective about themselves and get out of their depression and move through their depression, not just to get out of it, but to understand it deeper, to grow with it, and to welcome it, and to say, hey, I know I'm so much more than this depression. What step can I take today that feels good, looks good, and helps me grow into this next more uplifted version of myself? And oftentimes it's just the simple rituals. So I hope that you give that a try. If you are watching the replay or you are here, I'd love to hear from you. If you are also feeling that heaviness of the world, if you are also feeling depressed, or maybe you have, and what have you done that is in alignment with these sacred lifestyle, with these holistic way of life that has helped you? And also specifically, have you ever seen the relationship between your space and your actions and the way you take care of it, and how it improves your mood and how it makes you feel a lot more clear, a lot more focused, a lot more capable, and also a lot more happy? So if you've experienced that and you're wanting to share, please do, because I love to hear from you. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you later for another one of these sacred little videos. Sat Nam.